I'm here with Scott from a VP of Science of Tarukino Source Labs.
Correct.
And how you doing, man?
Great day. Great day in Seattle.
Smart Kitchen Summit. Is this your first one?
It is.
Okay. How are you liking it so far?
So far, it's pretty interesting. I see 2 or 3 products out there I'm going to buy tonight.
Oh, yeah. I have a lot of apps that I've just added to my phone. So what do you do over there at Tarukino Source Labs?
Well, I look after the technology sector. As it says, I'm VP of Science.
Right.
And we're a cannabis company, and our thing is to take cannabinoids, THC, CBD, or the full entourage effect, and turn them into water-soluble materials.
Okay.
So
that seems very helpful.
Well, it is. There's some distinct challenges involved. Most edible platforms bring with it the flavor and the bitterness of the cannabinoids or the marijuana smell, and then getting uniformity of distribution in a food platform, because these things are typically oils, can be very challenging.
Yeah.
So we have cracked that code, if you will.
Okay.
So we present the product in 2 forms. Liquid form, it's an emulsion that you can add to any water-based platform, get complete homogeneity, complete uniform dispersion, absolutely no taste or flavor.
Wow.
So you can prepare the culinary aspect of what you're doing,
right,
and drop this on top of it.
Yeah, it's the base level.
Exactly.
And then you add what you want to actually taste like.
And then we've also converted it to a dry powder that will reform the emulsion as soon as it sees water. So this is appropriate for dry blend mixes, like a bread mix or a brownie mix or something like this.
I was thinking brownies, yes.
But it's a little bit different than your mother's brownies, shall we
Yes,
say.
I would think so. It'd be weird if it was growing up and those were the brownies.
Well, one of the other challenges in the edible space, historically, if you consume cannabis by eating it, tend to have very erratic liftoff times and very long experiences. Typically, you don't know if you're going to get liftoff in 30 minutes or 2 hours, and you're probably going to have whatever effect throughout the day, into the night, maybe the next day. Because we've enhanced the bioavailability, we get very reliable short liftoff times, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes for sure. And we've compressed that whole experience cycle. So it has a half-life of about an hour and a half. And then you get to a point where you realize, hey, you know what? The experience isn't as strong as it was 5 minutes ago.
Right. That's very helpful for that type of product, because you want to, it's nice to have that understanding of when it's going to start and when it's going to stop.
Yeah.
And when that experience is going to end.
So, you know, when you start talking about this like smart kitchen, you know, foods of the future, what we're really doing is turning cannabis into a food ingredient.
Interesting. And you're B2B, but you're also B2C, so you have products as well.
Yeah, we're B2B, and in the state of Washington, we have a line of beverages. We have Happy Apple, which is Washington State's #1 selling drinkable, if you will. Available in, it sounds like a commercial, doesn't it? Available in several doses, 10, 50, and 100 milligrams. Although we're starting to migrate pretty quickly to the microdose arena, low dose arena. The idea is, if like you go to a barbecue in the afternoon, most people have something in the hand they're drinking. It's a beer or wine,
right,
maybe a cocktail. But my point is, you don't see too many people with a glass full of scotch and drinking the whole thing at once and then heading to the couch.
Right.
So we want to turn these beverages into platforms that are kind of analogous to beer, where you can drink it all afternoon, have your experience, stop a couple hours before you go home, and all like that.
And then like you know what you're going to get, and that's really important. And is this just only in Washington because these products, you know, it's legal here and that kind of thing, or is?
Yes and no. We're working with on the B2B level, we're working on a licensing model. We've just executed a very nice arrangement with an LP up in Canada.
Okay.
Got something similar going on down in California, Washington. Next is Portland, Colorado, so on and so forth.
Right. So you're going towards other places where you can go.
So in Washington, we're using that as a place to showcase the technology. So we have this apple cider made out of wonderful Washington apples. We have lightly carbonated, lightly flavored water. And the new reveal, so to speak, is we are introducing a line of beer analogs. So this is barley brewed, 0 alcohol, but it will be dosed with various levels of THC, and we'll have 4 varieties out there. We'll have a Pilsner, we'll have an IPA, we'll have a stout, so on.
I feel like that would do very good here in Washington. It's definitely a beer state.
We kind of like our microbrews, and we're working with a local microbrewer to make our platform.
That's great. So what are the challenges you see with educating people on THC and CBD?
You know, it's if you think back to when you learned how to drink, there's no book. There's no class in health class.
No.
You kind of figure it out, right? Well, this is maybe a little bit harder because for many people it's an entirely new experience. So the short version of this is it's a common number that 70% of adults consume alcohol. So in a friendly way, I'll say 70% of the adults in America like to intoxicate. We haven't mentioned caffeine or nicotine or pharmaceuticals yet. So I think it's pretty safe to say you got about 95% of the adult population likes to intoxicate in some form. So when a medical market comes in, you have two groups of people that show up initially. You have the lifelong cannabis consumers, the stoners, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
Right.
And then you have people of need that are actually looking for a cure. That brings with it sort of an awakening, shift in social norms. Then a rec market comes in behind that. Now you've got a lot of consumers that 95% like to intoxicate. Here's another option.
Right.
But most of these people don't necessarily smoke cigarettes, and in fact, they maybe don't want to smoke anything.
Right.
So they're looking for an edible platform. They're looking for another vehicle.
Yeah.
Right. So there's education. It's what dose is kind of normal, what kind of dose is a microdose, and the answers to those questions are 10 milligrams in an edible is kind of like smoking a joint. 2 to 3 milligrams or 5 milligrams in an edible, now we're talking what would be considered a microdose. And of course, that's for THC. On the anti-inflammatory side with the CBD products, maybe the dosage is a little bit higher, and this is strictly for non-psychotropic effects.
I think that's important about the fact that you have the products themselves, because like when I have something, of anything that I might intoxicate myself with, you have to have it for yourself and see how you react to it. And I think that just by seeing it in a product form, you can be like, oh, I had this cider, and this is the effects that I had from it. And kind of like it, in a microcosm, explains the feeling you get from it.
Oh, exactly. And the quality control aspect, the consumer safety aspect, every bit of that bottle's the same. The first drink of the apple drink will have the same dosage as the end point. Everybody's metabolism is a little bit different. I know some people can throw down 4 or 5 beers and they're barely noticing it.
Yeah.
If I drink a beer in 10 minutes, I have a buzz.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right? So you have to sort of figure it out for yourself.
Yeah.
And I'd say cannabis is the same thing. Here's
We're going to have some on camera right now? I'm just kidding.
Well, here's a simplified version. This is what we call our shooters. In this little jar of Pearl, Pearl water, there's 10 milligrams of CBD and 10 milligrams of THC.
Okay.
You could put this in orange juice, you could put this in coffee, you could put it in a beer, you could put it in a fine wine, you could put it in scotch. Has zero impact on the
taste.
And
that's huge. That's huge. Because it's more about just adding that element and not changing the flavor part.
Correct.
Because I mean, we grew up again with a lot of us grew up with a different. If you were going to do the edible, it had a distinct flavor. It had a distinct change to the property of whatever you were having.
Exactly.
And that was uncomfortable or awful sometimes.
Well, a lot of unknowns, a lot of variable performance.
Yes.
When we make these products, we start with distillate, so we've removed a good bit of the terpenes, if not all of them. So you get a very repeatable experience because it's essentially pure THC or essentially pure CBD as the starting material.
This one's a 1-to-1 essentially, sounds like.
Correct.
Right? So I think another thing that's kind of helpful, like you alluded to earlier, is this medical market that's becoming even bigger, right?
Yeah.
I met myself and even my mom and people that I know have conditions where you could use a little bit of CBD just for pain in general. There's all those oils out that you can do just for like muscle pain and stuff like that. Do you see that basically helping your mission essentially?
Well, of course, and a lot of this is anecdotal. But we have an 85-year-old woman that watches our house when we go away. She was getting ready to have knee replacement, and this is all anecdotal. But for her, she uses a CBD version of this. She's decided not to have her knee replacement because it relieves so much of the pain. My father has had knee and hip replacements. He hates the opioids. He's moved over to CBD as an alternative. He doesn't take opioids anymore.
Yeah.
So what I'm suggesting is the utility in the wave of the CBD material is pressing past THC at this point in time. It's much more socially accepted, no psychotropic effects, and there is definitely positive responses out of a great number of people that use it.
Right, and I think that that actually just helps the other side as well.
Of course.
Say someone's having a great experience with this, and then they opens their mind to another idea.
Well, once we get back into sort of the positive mindset about what this plant is, if you look around the world of what cultures have used this for, ceremonial drinks, religious drinks, I'm not one of the people that thinks it's a miracle plant.
Right.
You know, it's a plant like many other things. It's a botanical, but it does have a lot of bioactive materials in it, and that's definitely coming through with the science.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see what you guys do more. Anything you want to tell us that you're new coming out around the corner? That
Well, like I say, the new thing for us is going to the microdose level.
Yeah.
We're going to be focusing a lot more on CBD platforms, pills, drinks. And then, of course, having a beer analog, something, I mean, this is good stuff.
Great. Yeah.
I can't name the company, but we had a national brand beer company in looking at our technology. And when we said we were doing the beer, they kind of said, oh, yeah, well, I'll give that a try. And they tasted it, and they said, they paused. They said, you know, this is really good.
That's a good endorsement.
Yeah, I think so.
We can't say from who, but it was good. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, I'm excited to see more. And where can people find out your products right now? In Washington?
Well, Washington State,
Yep.
shortly up in Canada, and you'll be seeing them in California very soon. Our website, Tarukino, Tarukino,
Yep.
or Source Labs. Source Lab or Source Labs, you might have to hit them both. You'll see a really good description of our technology and examples of our products.
And like to companies that are here and startups and a lot of the people who are trying to change their kitchen, change the way we eat, those products can contact you as well, right? Like
Absolutely.
For B2B solutions?
Yeah, absolutely. B2B, particularly for CBD, absolutely.
Yeah, because I feel like there's so much upside there still.
We have a chef that does preparations for us. Anything from sous vide, ramen, fish, cocktails.
You had me at ramen.
it's unending.
Cool.
As this thing is like ubiquitous in the kitchen. You can use it like salt, literally.
Yeah. Well, maybe not as much as salt. Scott, thanks so much for being here.
Appreciate it, Carlos.
Have a good rest of your show.
Yeah, enjoy. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.